The timestamp on the dashcam reads March 3rd, 2022, 8:47 p.m. My name is Dale Hutchins, been driving 18-wheelers for Consolidated Freight out of Sacramento for going on 19 years now. Tonight I'm hauling a load of industrial equipment bound for a distribution center outside of Fallon, Nevada, taking US Route 50 because I've always preferred it over I-80. Fewer trucks, less traffic, just you and the road and the high desert stretching out forever in every direction. They call Route 50 the loneliest road in America. And after tonight, I understand why they gave it that name. I understand in ways I never wanted to understand. The evening started normal enough. I'd pulled out of the Flying J in Fernley around 7, topped off my tanks, grabbed a cup of coffee and a ham sandwich from the deli counter, called my wife Linda back home in Stockton to let her know I'd be stopping in Fallon for the night, probably pull into the truck stop there around 10 or so. She told me to drive. Safe? Told me she loved me. Told me our daughter Emily had gotten an A on her biology test. Normal things. Human things. The kind of things that matter when you spend your life behind the wheel watching America scroll past your windshield. I remember thinking how peaceful the desert looked in that last hour of daylight, the mountains turning purple in the distance, the sagebrush catching the final gold of the setting sun. I had Waylon Jennings playing on the satellite radio, Luckenbach, Texas, and I was singing along, tapping my fingers on the steering wheel, feeling good about life in general. That's the thing about what happened next. It didn't start with some ominous warning, some premonition of danger. It started on a perfectly ordinary evening, on a road I'd driven 100 times before, when I was feeling as content as a man can feel. The sun went down around 8:15, and the darkness out here in the Nevada desert is something else entirely. No light pollution, no distant glow of cities, just black in every direction, broken only by your headlights carving a tunnel through the void. I switched on my high beams and settled in for the long stretch between Fernley and Fallon, about 30 miles of nothing but scrub brush and the occasional reflective marker telling you where the road ends and the desert begins. At 8:32 p.m., according to my dashcam, I noticed another vehicle behind me for the first time. Headlights appeared in my side mirror, coming up fast, which was unusual for this stretch of road at this hour. Most traffic on Route 50 after dark is other truckers, and we generally keep a respectful distance. No need to crowd each other when there's nobody else around. But these headlights were different. They were gaining on me steadily, and something about them seemed off, though I couldn't quite put my finger on what. They were the right color, the right brightness, positioned at the right height for a passenger vehicle, but there was something about the way they moved, a kind of smoothness that didn't quite match how a car moves on a road. I slowed down a little, figuring I'd let them pass. On a 2-lane highway like this, you want to give faster traffic every opportunity to get around you, especially when you're pulling 40 tons of steel behind you. But the vehicle didn't pass, it just stayed back there, matching my speed, maintaining that same distance of maybe 100 yards. I sped up. It sped up. I slowed down again. It slowed down. I grabbed my CB radio. Figured maybe it was another trucker who wanted to chat. Some folks out here get lonely and just want someone to talk to. Breaker, breaker, this is Iron Horse. That's my handle. Got a vehicle behind me on Route 50 eastbound. You trying to get around me? Come back, nothing but static. I tried again. Anybody got their ears on out here? This is Iron Horse on Route 50 headed toward Fallon, looking for a radio check. Still nothing, which was strange. Usually you can pick up someone on the CB out here, even if it's just truckers passing on I-80 to the north, but the channel was dead, just that empty hiss of static that sounds like the universe breathing. I checked my cell phone. No signal, but that's not unusual for this stretch of road. There are dead zones all along Route 50, where the mountains block the towers. I'd hit coverage again once I got closer to Fallon. At 8:41 p.m., the headlights behind me turned off. Just like that. No gradual dimming. No indication the vehicle was pulling over or turning around. 1 second they were there, twin points of light in my mirror, and the next second they were gone, swallowed by the darkness like they'd never existed. I felt a strange relief wash over me, followed almost immediately by confusion. Where did they go? There were no turnoffs on this stretch, no side roads, nothing but flat desert on either side of the highway. I checked my mirrors again, searching for any sign of the vehicle. Brake lights, parking, lights, anything. Just darkness. Well, that was weird. I said it out loud, talking to myself like I often do on these long hauls. Linda says I've been doing it for years, having full conversations with nobody. But when you spend 10 hours a day alone in a cab, you need to hear a human voice, even if it's your own. I turned up the radio, tried to shake off the uneasy feeling settling into my chest. Probably just some local who decided to turn around, maybe realized they were going the wrong way. Happens out here sometimes. Tourists who miss their turn and have to backtrack. Nothing to worry about. At 8:47 p.m., I saw the figure standing on the side of the road. My headlights caught it about 200 yards ahead. Just a shape at first. A dark vertical line against the horizontal monotony of the desert. As I got closer, the shape resolved into a person. A man, from what I could tell, standing right on the white line at the edge of the road, facing toward the highway like he was waiting. For something. For someone. I started to slow down because out here you don't just ignore a person standing on the side of the road. Could be someone whose car broke down, could be someone who needs help. I've stopped for stranded motorists plenty of times over the years. Changed tires, given rides to the nearest town. Called for tow trucks on my CB when they didn't have cell service. It's just what you do out here. But as I got closer, something made me hesitate. The man wasn't moving. Wasn't waving for help. Wasn't looking at my truck. Wasn't doing any of the things a stranded motorist would do when they saw potential rescue coming. He was just standing there, perfectly still, facing the road. I slowed to about 20 miles per hour as I approached, ready to stop if he flagged me down. My headlights washed over him fully now, and I got my first good look at his face. That's when my foot moved to the accelerator instead of the brake. He was smiling. Not a normal smile. Not the grateful smile of someone about to receive help, but something else entirely. A wide, fixed grin that seemed to stretch too far across his face, showing too many teeth, frozen in place like a mask. His eyes were open, staring directly at my cab as I passed, and I swear they tracked me, following my movement without his head turning at all. I hit the gas. The truck lurched forward, and I watched in my side mirror as the figure receded into the darkness behind me. He didn't move, didn't turn to watch me go. Just stood there, still smiling until the darkness swallowed him. What in the hell? I was breathing hard, I realized. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles had gone white. I loosened my grip, tried to calm down. Could have been anything. Could have been a drunk. Could have been someone mentally ill. Could have been some kind of prank. Kids do stupid stuff out here sometimes, try to scare truckers for laughs. But that smile, that frozen, wrong smile, I couldn't get it out of my head. I tried the CB again. Anybody out there? This is Iron Horse on Route 50, just past mile marker 47, looking for a radio check. I saw something weird out here. Anybody else in the area? Static. Empty. Endless static. At 8:56 p.m., I saw the second figure. This one was on the left side of the road, same posture as the first, standing perfectly still, facing the highway. That same horrible smile visible in my headlights. I didn't slow down this time. I kept my speed at I-65 and watched the figure slide past my window, like a mannequin in a department store display. Same unmoving posture, same tracking eyes, same smile. A mile later, there was another one. Then another. Then another. By the time I reached mile marker 52, I'd counted 11 of them. 11 figures standing at irregular intervals along Route 50. All of them identical in their stillness, their posture, their expressions. Some were on the right side of the road, some on the left. But they were all facing the highway, all smiling, all watching me pass with those unblinking eyes. I was going 80 now, way too fast for a loaded truck on a 2-lane highway, but I didn't care. I needed to get to Fallon, needed to get somewhere with lights and people and the comforting presence of civilization. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I could feel sweat running down my back, despite the cold desert air. The CB crackled. I nearly jumped out of my seat. Iron Horse, this is dispatch. Do you copy? It was Tommy, the night dispatcher at Consolidated. I'd never been so happy to hear another human voice in my entire life. Tommy, thank God. This is Iron Horse. I copy you loud and clear. I've got a situation out here on Route 50. I'm seeing people standing on the side of the road, multiple individuals. They're just standing there, not moving. There's something wrong with them. A long pause. Iron Horse. Say again? You're breaking up. I repeated myself, trying to keep my voice calm. There are people standing on the side of the road. At least 11 of them. They're not moving, they're just standing there staring at traffic. There's something wrong with their faces, with their expressions. I think there might be some kind of incident out here. Another pause, longer this time. Then Tommy's voice, but different somehow, flatter. Iron Horse, can you describe your exact location? I checked the mile markers. I'm approaching mile marker 54, about 15 miles west of Fallon. I should hit town in about 20 minutes at this speed. Maybe you should pull over and wait. What, Tommy? Did you hear what I said? There are people standing on the side of the road out here. Something is seriously wrong. I'm not pulling over. I'm getting to Fallon as fast as this rig will take me. The response came immediately, with no pause at all, which wasn't like Tommy. He always took his time, thought before he spoke. You should pull over and wait, Dale. We'll send someone to help you. Pull over and wait. The way he said my name. Tommy never called me Dale. Nobody at Consolidated called me Dale. I was Iron Horse on the radio, Dale Hutchins on the paperwork, but never just Dale. Not like that. Not with that flat, empty tone. Who is this? I said into the radio. Identify yourself. This is dispatch, Dale. You know who this is. Pull over and wait. We're coming to help you. I turned off the CB. My hands were shaking. That wasn't Tommy. I don't know who or what it was, but it wasn't Tommy. I tried. My cell phone again. Still no signal, but I was getting closer to Fallon. I should be picking up a tower soon. I just had to keep driving. Just had to keep moving forward. At 9:08 p.m., my engine started making a sound it had never made before. A rhythmic knocking like something was loose inside the block. I've been driving trucks long enough to know what an engine problem sounds like, and this wasn't right. This wasn't any mechanical failure I'd ever heard. It was too regular, too deliberate. Like a pattern being tapped out in some kind of code. I checked my gauges. Everything read normal. Oil pressure, temperature, RPMs, all exactly where they should be. But that knocking continued, getting louder, getting more insistent. Knock, knock, knock. Pause. Knock, knock. Pause. Knock, knock, knock. Like a message, like something trying to communicate. And then I realized the knocking wasn't coming from my engine. It was coming from behind me, from my trailer. I had 40 tons of industrial equipment back there, generators and pumps and heavy machinery strapped down tight on pallets. There was no way anything should be moving around, no way anything should be making that kind of noise. I'd secured that load myself back in Sacramento, checked every strap and chain twice like I always do. Knock, 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 pause, knock, knock. Something was in my trailer. Something was knocking from inside. I gripped the steering wheel and kept my eyes on the road and tried very hard not to think about what might be making that sound. The knocking continued for another 4 miles. That same pattern repeating over and over, and then it stopped as suddenly as it had started. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. At 9:17 p.m., I finally saw lights ahead, the glow of Fallon rising out of the desert like a beacon of sanity. I'd never been so relieved to see a small Nevada town in my life. I was going to pull into the first truck stop I could find, park this rig, and figure out what the hell was going on. But as I got closer to the town, I noticed something wrong. The lights weren't moving. On a normal night, even a quiet night, you'd see headlights on the roads, the occasional flash of brake lights, signs of life and movement. But these lights were static, fixed points of illumination with no variation, no change. I slowed down as I entered the outskirts of Fallon. The streetlights were on. The signs for the gas stations and fast food restaurants were lit up, but there was no one around. No cars in the parking lots, no people on the sidewalks, no signs of life anywhere. I pulled into the Pilot truck stop at the east end of town. My usual spot, where I've parked hundreds of times over the years. The lot was empty, completely empty. Not a single truck, not a single car, not a single person. I sat in my cab for a long moment, engine idling, staring at the truck stop's convenience store. The lights were on inside. I could see the aisles, the coolers, the counter where Maria usually worked the night shift. But there was no one there. The store was as empty as the parking lot. I should have kept driving. I know that now. But at the time, I told myself I needed to use the restroom, needed to splash some water on my face, needed to do something normal and mundane to convince myself that what I'd experienced on the highway was just fatigue, just stress, just my mind playing tricks on me after too many hours behind the wheel. I climbed down from my cab and walked toward the convenience store. The night air was cold, probably somewhere in the low 40s, but the silence was colder. No traffic noise from the highway, no hum of refrigeration units, no sounds of any kind. Just my boots on the asphalt, impossibly loud in the void. I pushed open the door to the convenience store and the electronic chime sounded, that familiar two-tone beep that signals a customer entering. The store looked completely normal. Shelves stocked with snacks and drinks, coffee, brewing in the pots behind the counter, magazines neatly arranged in the rack by the door. But something was wrong. The coffee, I could see steam rising from the pots. Fresh coffee, just brewed. Someone had been here, had to have been here within the last few minutes. Hello? My voice echoed in the empty store. Anybody here? No response. I walked further in, past the aisles of candy and chips, toward the counter. That's when I saw the phone. A cell phone, sitting on the counter next to the register. It was unlocked, showing a text message conversation. I know I shouldn't have looked, privacy and all that, but nothing about this situation was normal, and I was desperate for any kind of information that might explain what was happening. The text messages were between two people, names I didn't recognize. The last message had been sent at 9:03 p.m. just 14 minutes ago. It read, "They're here. They're everywhere. Don't stop in Fallon. Keep driving no matter what. If you stop, they..." The message ended mid-sentence. I grabbed the phone, scrolled up through the conversation. The earlier messages were mundane. Arrangements to meet up, discussion about work schedules. Then, starting around 8:30 p.m., the tone changed dramatically. "Are you seeing what I'm seeing? What the hell is that? They're on the road, they're just standing there. I'm at the pilot. There's no one here. Where is everyone? Someone needs to call someone. Police, military, anyone. Oh God, they're in the parking lot. They're just standing there, looking at the store. I'm hiding in the back. If you're reading this, don't." The conversation ended with that final, incomplete message. I put the phone down and looked out the window of the convenience store, toward the parking lot where I'd left my truck. They were there, dozens of them, standing in a perfect circle around my rig, all facing inward, all perfectly still, all wearing that same frozen smile. My blood went cold. I backed away from the window, moving, slowly, carefully, trying not to make any sudden movements. There was a back door to the store, I knew, leading to the delivery area and the dumpsters. If I could get out that way, maybe I could circle around, maybe I could find another vehicle. Maybe I could. The lights went out. All of them. Every light in the store, in the parking lot, in the entire town. Everything went dark at once. I stood frozen in absolute blackness, my heart pounding, my breath coming in short gasps. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face, but I could hear something. Footsteps. Many footsteps, coming from every direction, coming closer. I ran. Blind in the darkness, I ran for where I thought the back door was, crashed into a shelf, sent products scattering across the floor, kept going. My hands found a wall, followed it, found a door handle. I pushed through into the cold night air and kept running. I don't know how long I ran. The darkness was total, disorienting. I fell, twice, scraping my hands and knees on asphalt, on gravel, on something that might have been grass. I could hear them behind me, those footsteps, that impossible number of footsteps, never getting closer, but never falling behind, maintaining that same steady distance. At some point I found a road. I could feel the difference in the surface under my feet, the smooth asphalt instead of rough ground. I followed it, stumbling along in the darkness, praying it would lead somewhere, anywhere. So, lights came back on. One moment I was blind. The next moment I was squinting against the sudden brightness of streetlights and signs. I looked around wildly, trying to get my bearings. I was on the main street of Fallon, standing in the middle of the road. The town looked normal again. Cars were parked along the curbs. Lights were on in the windows of houses and businesses. But there was still no one around. No people, no movement, no signs of life. And standing at the end of the street, maybe 100 yards away, was a single figure, tall, still, smiling. It raised one arm and pointed at me. Then, one by one, more figures emerged from the shadows, from doorways, from between parked cars, from behind trees and fences, all of them moving toward me with those wrong puppet-like steps, all of them smiling, all of them pointing. I turned and ran again. I don't remember much of the next few hours, fragments mostly, running through dark streets, hiding behind buildings, the constant sensation of being watched, being followed. The figures were everywhere, and no matter which way I went, more of them appeared, always cutting off my escape, always herding me in a direction I didn't want to go. At some point, I found myself back at the pilot truck stop. My rig was still there, and for one desperate moment I thought I might be able to get in, drive away, escape this nightmare. But as I approached, I saw that the figures had surrounded my truck in an even tighter circle now. And they weren't alone. There was something else there. Something standing on top of my trailer. It was tall, taller than the figures, taller than seemed possible. In the dim light of the parking lot, I could only see its silhouette, a vaguely humanoid shape with proportions that made my mind recoil. Its limbs were too long, its torso too thin, its head shaped wrong in ways I couldn't quite define. It was looking at me. I could feel its attention like a physical weight, pressing down on me, making it hard to breathe. And then it spoke, not out loud. The sound was inside my head, inside my thoughts, a voice that wasn't a voice, words that weren't quite words but somehow conveyed meaning. "You've been driving such a long time, Dale." The voice was old, ancient. It felt like dust and darkness and deep places that had never seen the sun. "Don't you want to rest? Don't you want to stop running?" I couldn't move, couldn't speak. The voice continued, gentle and terrible. "We've been waiting for you. We've been waiting for so long. All those nights on the road, all those miles through the empty places. Did you think we didn't notice? Did you think we weren't watching?" One of the figures stepped forward from the circle. I recognized the clothes. A Consolidated Freight uniform. The same company I worked for. The same uniform I was wearing. The figure's face was wrong, like all the others, stretched and smiling, but there was something familiar about it. Something that made my stomach drop. It was me. Not exactly me, not quite right, but close enough. My face, my build, my hair, all rendered in that horrible, frozen approximation of humanity. "You've been driving so long," the voice said. "Let us take over now. You can rest. You can finally rest." The thing that looked like me took another step forward, reaching out with hands that had too many fingers, fingers that bent in too many places. I screamed. I think I screamed. And then I ran one more time. Ran with everything I had left. Ran until my legs gave out, and I collapsed on the side of the highway somewhere outside of town. That's where they found me. The real police, I mean. The Nevada Highway Patrol. It was 4:23 a.m. according to the trooper's report. I was lying in a ditch about 2 miles east of Fallon, incoherent, covered in scratches and bruises. I'd been running, they estimated, for nearly 7 hours. They took me to the hospital in Fallon, the same Fallon that I'd seen empty and dark just hours before, but now it was normal. Lights on, people around, cars in the parking lots. When I told them what I'd seen, what I'd experienced, they looked at me with that particular expression that healthcare workers reserve for people they think might be having a mental breakdown. They ran tests, drug screens, brain scans, psychological evaluations. Everything came back normal, or as normal as could be expected for a man who'd spent the night running through the desert in terror. My truck was recovered from the pilot truck. "Stop. Everything was fine," they told me. The load was intact, the cab was undamaged, no signs of any disturbance. The dashcam footage, though, that's what I can't explain. The hospital released me 3 days later with a recommendation to take some time off, see a therapist, get some rest. I drove back to Stockton with Linda, who'd come to pick me up after getting a call from the hospital. I couldn't bring myself to tell her everything, just said I'd had some kind of breakdown, stress from many hours on the road. She was worried, wanted me to see a doctor, wanted me to take it easy. I agreed to everything because I didn't know what else to do. A week later, Consolidated Freight contacted me about my dashcam footage. "Standard procedure," they said. They review all incident footage when a driver is involved in a medical emergency. They wanted to discuss what they'd seen. I met with my terminal manager and a company safety officer. They played the footage on a laptop in the conference room. I watched it with them, and I saw everything I remembered. The headlights following me, the figures on the side of the road, the empty town. But then they showed me something else, something I hadn't seen while I was living it. At 9:47 p.m., right after I entered Fallon, the dashcam captured something in the sky above the town, lights arranged in a pattern, hovering motionless. Not airplanes, not helicopters, not anything with a recognizable shape. Just lights, forming a geometric pattern. That seemed to shift and change as the camera recorded it, and on the audio track, underneath the sound of my engine, there was something else. A voice. Not my voice. Not any human voice. Speaking words that didn't quite resolve into any language, but somehow conveyed meaning. He's coming. After all this time, he's finally coming. Bring him to us. The company confiscated the Dashcam footage. National security concerns, they said. Someone from the government wanted it. I was asked to sign papers. Non-disclosure agreements. Promises not to discuss what I'd seen. I signed everything. What else could I do? That was 3 years ago. I haven't driven Route 50 since. I haven't driven at all, actually. I retired from trucking, took a job at a warehouse in Stockton, something that lets me be home every night, lets me sleep in my own bed next to my wife, lets me pretend that what happened on that road was just a dream, just a breakdown, just stress. But sometimes, late at night, I hear that knocking. Knock, 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 pause, knock, knock. Coming from somewhere in my house, somewhere I can never quite locate. And sometimes when I'm driving through town on an errand, I see them, figures standing on street corners, on sidewalks, in parking lots, perfectly still, watching traffic pass, wearing that same frozen smile. They're here. They've always been here. We just don't notice them until they want us to. I'm recording this account because I need someone to know what happened. I need someone to understand what's out there on the lonely roads, in the empty places, in the darkness between the lights. If you're driving at night, on a quiet highway, and you see headlights in your mirror that seem to move wrong, keep driving. If you see figures standing on the side of the road, don't stop. Don't try to help. Don't try to understand. Just keep driving. And whatever you do, whatever happens, don't pull over. Don't ever pull over. Because they're watching. They're always watching. And they've been waiting for you for such a very, very long time. This account was found on a laptop belonging to Dale Hutchins of Stockton, California. Mr. Hutchins was reported missing on September 15, 2025, after failing to return from what his wife described as a routine trip to the grocery store. His vehicle was found abandoned on the shoulder of US Route 50, approximately 12 miles west of Fallon, Nevada. The driver's side door was open. The engine was still running. A single shoe, later identified as belonging to Mr. Hutchins, was found on the side of the road nearby. The dashcam in his personal vehicle was recording at the time of his disappearance. The footage shows Mr. Hutchins driving in normal conditions, making occasional comments to himself about the weather, the traffic, everyday things. Then at 7:47 p.m., the camera captures movement on the side of the road. A figure, tall, still, smiling. Mr. Hutchins does not react, does not slow down, does not show any sign of distress. He simply turns off the highway and parks on the shoulder. The footage shows him exiting the vehicle calmly, walking toward the figure with steady, deliberate steps. Just before he moves out of frame, he turns back toward the camera. He's smiling. The footage ends. The case remains open. The footage has been sealed. No further information is available. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Dale Hutchins or any unusual activity along US Route 50, please contact the Nevada Highway Patrol. And please, for your own safety, do not travel Route 50 after dark. The loneliest road in America earned its name for a reason. Some roads aren't just empty. Some roads are hungry. And some passengers, once they climb in, never reach their destination. What follows is a compilation of materials gathered from multiple sources over a period of 37 months, following the initial disappearance of Dale Raymond Hutchins on September 15, 2025. These documents were never intended for public release. The fact that you are reading them now means that either the containment protocols have failed or someone within the monitoring apparatus has decided that the public has a right to know what travels the empty roads of the American interior after darkness falls. This compiler makes no judgment on the wisdom of that decision. This compiler only presents the facts as they have been recorded, documented, and in many cases, suppressed. Draw your own conclusions. And if you find yourself driving through Nevada after sunset, remember what you've read here. Remember and keep driving. Never stop, never look back, and whatever you do, don't answer if something calls your name. Document 1, transcript of 911 call Churchill County Dispatch, September 16, 2025, 3:47 a.m. Dispatcher. 911, what is your emergency? Caller, heavy breathing. I need help. I need someone to come out here right now. There's something on the road. Dispatcher, sir, can you tell me your location? Caller, I'm on 50. Route 50, maybe 20 miles west of Fallon, I don't know exactly. I passed a mile marker, but I can't remember the number. Please, you have to send someone. Dispatcher, okay, sir, I'm dispatching units to your area now. Can you tell me what's happening? Caller, there's a truck, a semi, pulled over on the shoulder. The door is open and the lights are on, but there's no one inside. And there's someone standing next to it. Dispatcher, someone standing next to the truck? Caller, not someone, something. It looks like a person, but it's not moving. It's just standing there, facing the road, facing me. And it's smiling. Oh God, it's smiling and its face is all wrong. The smile is too big. It goes all the way across and... Dispatcher, sir, I need you to stay calm. Are you in your vehicle? Caller, yes, I'm in my car. I stopped because I thought someone might need help. I thought maybe there was an accident, but then I saw it and I can't move. I can't. Make myself drive past it. Dispatcher, sir, I need you to listen to me carefully. Do not exit your vehicle. Keep your doors locked and your windows up. Can you do that for me? Caller, pause. There's more of them. Dispatcher, sir? Caller, there's more of them now. They're coming out of the desert, walking toward the road, toward my car. There must be, I can count at least 15, 20. They're everywhere. They're all smiling. They're all looking at me. Dispatcher, sir, I need you to drive away. From there right now. Do not stop. Do not look back. Just drive. Caller, I can't. My car won't start. I'm turning the key and nothing is happening. The engine won't turn over. The lights are flickering. My phone is static. Can you hear me? Hello? Dispatcher, sir, I'm still here. Can you hear me? Caller, distorted. They're at my windows now. They're pressing their faces against the glass. So many of them, so many smiles. One of them looks like static. That's impossible. That's impossible. He's been dead for... Static. Dispatcher, sir, are you there? Caller, barely audible through heavy static. They're inside the car. I don't know how, but they're inside. They're sitting next to me. They're touching my face. They're telling me I can rest now. They're telling me I've been driving so long and I can finally... Static. Dispatcher, sir, please respond. The line goes silent. No dial tone. No static. Complete silence for approximately 37 seconds. Voice. Not the original caller. Different vocal quality, slightly distorted. Thank you for your assistance. The passenger has been collected. Please disregard this call. There is no emergency. There has never been an emergency. Good night. Call disconnects. Note, the vehicle belonging to the caller, later identified as Gregory Allen Morrison, 34, of Reno, Nevada, was found the following morning approximately 19 miles west of Fallon. The vehicle was in perfect working order. The engine started on the first try when recovered by tow services. Mr. Morrison was not present at the scene. A single item was found in the vehicle, a photograph showing Mr. Morrison standing next to a figure that investigating officers described as a man in outdated clothing with an unusual facial expression. The photograph appears to have been taken inside the vehicle from the perspective of the passenger seat. Mr. Morrison is smiling in the photograph. His eyes are open but appear unfocused. The timestamp on the photograph reads September 16, 2025, 3:52 a.m., approximately 5 minutes after the 911 call was disconnected. Mr. Morrison remains missing. The photograph has been classified and is not available for public review. Document 2. Internal Memorandum Nevada Highway Patrol, October 3, 2025. Marked confidential from Captain Elena Vasquez, District 3 Commander, to all District 3 personnel. Updated protocols for Route 50. Incidents effective immediately. The following protocols are to be implemented for all patrol units assigned to U.S. Route 50 between Fernley and Austin. No unit is to respond alone to any call along the designated corridor after 2,000 hours. All nighttime calls require minimum 2-unit response. Officers are not to exit their vehicles to investigate any stationary individuals observed on or near the roadway after dark. If individuals are observed, Officers are to note the location and continue to a safe distance before radioing for additional support. Any officer who observes 3 or more stationary individuals along the roadway within a single patrol shift is to immediately return to the nearest station and submit to psychological evaluation. This is not punitive. This is protective. All dashcam and bodycam footage from Route 50 patrols is to be uploaded directly to the secure server designated Loneliest Road. Do not review this footage personally. Do not make copies. Do not discuss the contents of any footage with anyone not cleared for Loneliest Road access. If at any time an officer's radio begins receiving transmissions that do not match known dispatch frequencies, or if transmissions are received from individuals claiming to be dispatch personnel but using incorrect call signs or protocols, the officer is to immediately disable their radio and proceed to the nearest populated area using personal cell phone for communication. Under no circumstances are officers to stop for any vehicle matching the description in Attachment A, regardless of apparent distress signals. If such a vehicle is observed, officers are to maintain speed, avoid eye contact with any occupants, and report the sighting only after reaching a location at least 10 miles from the observation point. Officers experiencing any of the following symptoms during or after a Route 50 patrol should report immediately to medical personnel: persistent sensation of being watched, difficulty remembering portions of their shift, discovery of unexplained items in their vehicle, receipt of text messages or voicemails from unknown numbers containing only the word waiting, or recurring dreams involving standing motionless in a dark space surrounded by smiling figures. These protocols are effective until further notice. Questions regarding these protocols should be directed to my office. Do not discuss these protocols with media, family members, or personnel outside District 3rd. Captain Elena Vasquez note: the vehicle description referenced in Attachment A matches the make, model, and license plate of the personal vehicle belonging to Dale Hutchins. The attachment further notes that the vehicle has been reported on Route 50 17 times since Mr. Hutchins's disappearance, always at night, always traveling eastbound, always with what witnesses describe as a male figure behind the wheel, sitting very still, facing forward, appearing to smile. Attempts to intercept the vehicle have been unsuccessful. On 3 occasions, pursuing officers reported that the vehicle seemed to accelerate without any visible change in the driver's posture, reaching speeds in excess of 140 miles per hour before simply vanishing from sight. These pursuit reports have been classified. The officers involved have been reassigned to administrative duties pending psychological clearance. Document 3. Personal Journal of Linda Hutchins. Excerpts. October-December 2025, October 7th. They found Dale's wedding ring today. A hiker discovered it about 3 miles from where they found his car, just lying in the dirt next to the road like he'd taken it off and dropped it there. When they brought it to me, I almost couldn't touch it. Not because I was upset, though I am, every minute of every day, but because it felt wrong somehow. The metal was cold, colder than it should have been, and when I held it I could swear I heard something. A voice, very faint, like someone talking from very far away. I only caught one word: waiting. I put the ring in a box and put the box in the back of my closet. I haven't opened it since. I don't think I ever will. October 19th, Emily came home from school today and asked me if Daddy was ever coming back. I didn't know what to tell her. The police say they're still looking, but I can tell from their faces that they don't expect to find him. Not alive, anyway. But here's the thing I can't tell anyone. The thing that's been keeping me awake at night. I don't think Dale is dead. I know that sounds like denial, like a grieving wife unable to accept reality. But I feel him sometimes. Not like a presence or a ghost, nothing like that. More like an absence. A Dale-shaped hole in the world that I can sense even when I'm not thinking about him. And sometimes late at night I hear his voice. Not speaking to me, not exactly. More like I'm overhearing a conversation from very far away. And he sounds scared. He sounds so scared. And he keeps saying the same thing over and over. Don't stop. Whatever you do, don't stop. Keep driving, keep driving, keep driving. November 3rd, I got a text message today from Dale's phone. His phone that the police have. His phone that's sitting in an evidence locker somewhere. The message was just 3 words. I'm still here. I called the detective assigned to the case. He said no one had accessed Dale's phone. He said the phone was still in the evidence room, still powered off, still sealed in its bag. He said whatever message I received must have been some kind of glitch, some kind of error, but I could hear it in his voice. He was scared too. He knows something is wrong. He just doesn't want to admit it. November 21st. I drove to Nevada today. I know I shouldn't have. I know everyone told me to stay away from that road, but I had to see it. I had to understand. I drove Route 50 from Fernley to Fallon, the same route Dale took that night. I drove it in daylight, in the middle of the afternoon, with the sun bright overhead and other cars on the road. It looked normal. Just a highway, just desert, just the empty spaces between towns that make up so much of this country. But when I passed the spot where they found Dale's car, I had to pull over. I couldn't help it. Something made me stop. And when I got out and stood on the shoulder of the road, I saw something in the dirt. Footprints. Dozens of footprints, all around the spot where Dale's car had been. Footprints that shouldn't have been there, that should have been erased by wind and weather. Weeks ago. And they weren't walking away from the road, they were walking toward the desert, walking in a single file line that stretched off toward the mountains until I couldn't see them anymore. I followed them for a little while. I don't know why. I don't know what I expected to find. But after about a quarter mile, I started to feel like I was being watched, like something in the desert was aware of me, was interested in me. I turned around and ran back to my car. I drove away as fast as I could, and I didn't look back. But in my rear-view mirror, just before I got too far away to see, I thought I saw something standing where I'd been. A figure, tall, still, smiling. December 12th. Got another text message today. Different number this time, one I didn't recognize, but I knew it was from Dale. I knew it the same way I know my own heartbeat, my own breath. The message said, "They won't let me go. They say I belong to them now. They say I always belonged to them. All those years on the sea, rode all those miles through the empty places, they were just waiting for me to come home. I'm sorry, Linda. Tell Emily I love her. Tell her to stay away from the lonely roads. Tell her never to stop driving if she sees them. Never to stop. Never to look back. Never till she stopped looking." I called the number. It rang once, then connected, but there was no one there. Just breathing. Slow, steady breathing. And underneath it, so faint I could barely hear it, voices. Dozens of voices. Maybe hundreds, all whispering the same thing. "Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home." I hung up. I threw the phone across the room. It shattered against the wall. The screen cracked into a spiderweb of broken glass. But before it went dark, I saw one final message appear. "We're waiting for you too, Linda. Everyone comes home eventually. Note. Linda Hutchins relocated with her daughter Emily to Portland, Oregon, in January 2026. She refuses to drive at night and has not operated a motor vehicle on any highway designated as rural or isolated since her experience in Nevada. In March 2026, she reported to local police that she had been receiving photographs in the mail, photographs of her house taken at night, photographs of her daughter's school, photographs of the road she drives during her daily routine. Each photograph contains the same anomaly, a figure visible in the background, standing very still, partially obscured by shadow or distance, but always present, always watching, always smiling. The photographs continue to arrive. Police have been unable to identify their source. The postmarks are always different, always from small towns along Route 50, Document 4, transcript of classified briefing, Department of Defense, location redacted, February 2026. Recording begins mid-conversation. And that's when we realized we were dealing with something that doesn't fit any existing framework. This isn't a military threat. This isn't a terrorist cell. This isn't even, and I want to be clear about this isn't a phenomenon that our current scientific understanding can explain. Second speaker, how long has this been going on? As far as we can determine, it's been going on for a very long time. We've found references in historical documents dating back to the 1800s, during the westward expansion. Settlers reported encountering what they called the standing people along remote trails and mountain passes. Native American oral traditions mention entities they refused to name directly, beings that waited in the empty places for travelers who strayed too far from established paths. The first documented modern incident occurred in 1952, when a Greyhound bus traveling Route 50 at night reported picking up a passenger at an unmarked stop who sat in the back and smiled at other passengers for 3 hours before the bus driver realized the passenger had no reflection in the rearview mirror. When he stopped the bus to investigate, the passenger was gone. 3 other passengers were also gone. They were never found. Second speaker. How many incidents have there been since then? Confirmed incidents with documented evidence, 347. Suspected incidents with circumstantial evidence, approximately 2,000. Incidents that have been attributed to other causes but match the pattern. We stopped counting at 10,000. Second speaker. 10,000. Route 50 is just where it's most concentrated. The phenomenon exists along every isolated road in the American interior, Route 93 in Nevada, Route 20 in Oregon, Highway 50 in Utah, Route 375, which some people call the extraterrestrial highway, though what's out there has nothing to do with extraterrestrials as far as we can tell. Any road that's isolated enough, any road that passes through enough empty space, can become a hunting ground. Second speaker. A hunting ground. That's the only word that fits. These entities, whatever they are, they hunt. They're patient. They're methodical. And they've been doing this for longer than our country has existed. Maybe longer than any country has existed. Second speaker. What do they want? That's the question we can't answer. They take people. They incorporate them somehow. People who are taken become different. We have surveillance footage from a gas station in Tonopah taken 18 months after the disappearance of a local resident named Mark Torres. The footage shows Mr. Torres walking into the gas station at 3 a.m. He looks normal. He moves normally. He even speaks to the clerk, asks for a pack of cigarettes. But there's something wrong with his face, something wrong with his smile. And in the reflection of the window behind him, he doesn't appear at all. The clerk gave him the cigarettes. Mr. Torres walked out of the gas station and was never seen again. The clerk reported no memory of the interaction until he reviewed the footage the next day. He said it was like that part of the night just didn't exist in his mind. Third speaker. Have we attempted to make contact once? In 1987, a team was sent to Route 50 with instructions to approach one of the entities and attempt communication. The team consisted of 4 agents with extensive training in unusual situations. They encountered an entity approximately 15 miles west of Austin at 2:34 a.m. They approached the entity as instructed. They asked questions as instructed. The entity did not respond verbally. It simply smiled. Then it raised one arm and pointed at the lead agent. We don't know what happened next. The dashcam in their vehicle stopped recording. Their radio transmissions became garbled, then silent. When the backup team arrived at the location 2 hours later, the vehicle was empty. All 4 agents were gone. Their weapons were still in their holsters. Their equipment was still in the vehicle. There was no sign of struggle, no evidence of what had happened, but there was something left behind. A photograph, sitting on the driver's seat. It showed all 4 agents standing in a row, smiling. The same smile as the entities, the same wrong, impossible smile. And behind them, barely visible in the darkness, dozens of other figures, also smiling, also standing still. The photograph was dated 1952, the same year as the Greyhound bus incident, 35 years before the mission was conducted. We don't know what that means. We don't know if we want to know what that means. Second speaker. What's the current protocol? Containment and observation. We monitor Route 50 and other high-activity corridors. We suppress information when possible. We've worked with state and local law enforcement to establish protocols that minimize civilian exposure. But we can't stop it. We can't fight it. We don't even understand what it is. All we can do is watch and wait and hope that whatever these things are, they stay on the lonely roads, that they don't start spreading to populated areas. Third speaker. Is there evidence of spread? Yes. Over the past 5 years, we've documented entity sightings in increasingly populated areas, suburbs of Las Vegas, outskirts of Reno, residential neighborhoods in small towns throughout Nevada, Utah, and Eastern California. They're expanding their range, or maybe they were always everywhere and they're just starting to let us see them. We don't know which possibility is more frightening. Recording ends. Document 5. Personal account of Maria Santos, former employee, pilot.